Hey, we're the Color Guys. I'm David.
And I'm George.
We are excited today. George and I have, on several occasions on the podcast here, talked about electric cars, haven't we, George?
Oh yeah, good and
Yeah,
bad
yeah,
experiences.
good. So one of our sponsors for the podcast for a long time has been our good friends over at Dick Dyer Mercedes, and on several of occasions they have loaned us electric vehicles to use. And one was on a long-term trip. We won't get into that today, but we've had several episodes where we've talked with them about electric cars.
Brought to you by Dick Dyer, Mercedes Benz, the first Mercedes Benz in South Carolina.
Bit of perspective from all sides of the fence.
Could you all talk a little bit then about your product, like what makes it unique and how you kind of go about standing out when you go and talk to Columbia or you go and talk to Greenville about, I mean, why they should choose y'all?
Yeah, so when it comes to level two, it's that is a hard differentiator, right? But one of the best things about our level two now is that it's one of the very few that's made here in America. So we are partnered with a manufacturing company that does manufacture these all over the world. But what we're getting here in the United States now on the level two side is made in Texas. That's something that sets us apart. People really, really care about buying American-made products versus from somewhere else in the country. But the biggest thing that sets us apart from everybody else right now is our level three product line. We still rep some of those older product lines that we used to buy from to get the company started. But since we've redesigned our own level three charger with our manufacturing partner, you can kind of see this sign right behind me if you're watching on the feed, but it says no 480, no problem. With DC fast charging, most of the time you have to have 483 phase power from the power company in order to make those DC chargers work. Our charger is multi-voltage, so no matter what your power input is from the power company, whether that be 208 single phase, 208 three phase, or 483 phase, our DC chargers work on those voltages, and it's not a custom ordered, custom tailored solution. All of our products come capable of being able to be hooked up to any of those powers or power inputs, and that's the biggest differentiator, right? Is that we're made in America, but also we can install at your mom and pop gas station that's in a rural area of South Carolina, and we can also install in the big cities very easily.
Awesome. So one of the things that I really was interested in, Alex, when you did your presentation was like who are the buyers of electric cars, and how is that demographic going to grow and change over the next 5 to 10 years to really make this a viable long-term strategy for day-to-day transportation for the average driver.
Yeah, I think good point bringing that up, David. But to start out with, EV cars were mainly for your techies that were, interested in the new technology, wanted to be on that cutting edge of, what was coming out, especially with the Teslas that were arriving and a few other models at that time. But as we've gone on with this EV industry, especially from the automotive OEM standpoint, we're getting to a point, especially throughout this calendar year and next year, where these things are getting more and more affordable for your everyday, couple, everyday, single guy or single girl that's, just now getting their way out into the world. There's, I believe, roughly 60 models that are going to be out over the next 2 years that are sub 50,000, which some would say isn't a reasonable car payment, but if you look at the new car market nowadays, that's actually not that bad, especially with the fuel savings that you're going to get along with the government rebate of $7,500. So I see that the EV industry, as far as cars go and who are purchasing those vehicles, is going to expand to a lot more demographics than what it originally started out with.
I think when we
Add on to that point.
when we started this business a little over 2.5 years ago now, I would say that demographic was obviously your wealthier, upper class, just kind of trying to explore that technology. We've definitely seen that shift as our business has progressed, to that more middle class family that maybe they don't drive quite as much, maybe their commute isn't as much. And it's been an interesting topic to talk about with a lot of our clients because they're not making the change because it's green or because it's, techie or because of the performance. But overall, what we're seeing a lot of people notice is that there's a significant cost savings in maintenance and in gas. And when you start putting those numbers in front of folks and you start showing them how much they could save by buying one of these things, I think that's really where the demographic starts to shift. The other place that we've really seen a massive growth in the demographic that's maybe not buying EV cars, but they're interested in it is new drivers, 16 to 24-year-olds. These are the kind of cars that they keep asking their parents to buy for their first car. These are the kind of cars that they want for a graduation gift or that they strive to be able to purchase on their own. They're interested in this for any number of reasons, right? Most of the time it's performance, tech, or that green aspect. They're not really paying attention to the cost savings of it. But we are starting to see a lot of people see, oh, this is going to save me this much in gas a month, and instead now it's just on my power bill for maybe 10 to 20 extra dollars a month versus me paying $50, $60 at the pump every week. I think that's where we're seeing the demographic grow. But I would 100% say it started in the upper class with people that were just interested in technology or being green. And since then, I would say now we're looking at that demographic changing to more that middle class. And as the cars get cheaper, like Alex said, I think you're going to see a lot of other folks start to adopt it simply because of the savings that happen when it comes to maintenance and fuel.
And as the cars get cheaper, the chargers will too. So the places they'll be put will only expand. Is there an outlook? I don't really know the pricing for like a level 3 charger, but how much will it shift down once the electric vehicle market reaches a certain share?
Yeah, so I would say, so the first thing I would say, right, is that if we're doing our job correctly, the technology of the charger shouldn't change much, which means a lot of the infrastructure that we're installing now should remain for quite some time. Essentially, what we should be looking at our chargers is like a gas pump, right? Maybe we put a new display screen on it or something along those lines, but we could retrofit what's already there. So I think when you're talking about out to the future, I think our charger sales significantly go down in the long run. But I think the other thing that you're going to see is that those prices for the actual charger themselves decrease, anywhere from a simple 5%, which doesn't sound too aggressive or very nice, but all the way up to maybe to 20%, depending on how good we get at, starting to manufacture some of our components here in the U.S. instead of outsourcing them from other countries. So I think it's going to depend a little bit, but I do think you'll see a slight decrease, maybe not quite as much as you think, but a little bit of an increase, a little bit of a decrease in the charger cost. But again, I think less chargers are going to start to be installed once that infrastructure is built up.
So let's say I've gone out and bought my first electric car, right? And I've driven it home and I open up the back because they gave me a charger to charge the car. And George and I have experienced this. And we plug it in and it's just not, you go back 12 hours later and you've maybe got 5% more battery.
Right.
What does the average homeowner need to think through before they install their own? Let's say maybe they want to get a little aggressive and have a level 2 charger in their home. What do they need to think about? Should they, can they put it on the inside of the house in a garage? Can it be done outside? What wiring needs to be done to make it, accessible, to attach your equipment to it?
Absolutely. So I would say first and foremost, when they're looking at a home, right, and they're considering putting in an EV charger, number one, the first thing that they need to look at is the actual capacity of their home panel, right? Is that thing fully loaded already? Is it already slapped full of breakers? Is there any room for me to add any extra equipment, right? The second thing I would say to look at is the ease of where that panel is located versus where I want to put this charger, right? Level 2 chargers can go inside, outside, they're weatherproof, it doesn't really matter. The biggest thing that you're going to be looking at, right, is at what point is the charger too far away to make the install of that charger too expensive? And I think that's the biggest cost, right? Wire's expensive. Copper is a commodity that obviously goes up and down, but seems to have continued to go up. I think that's going to be the things that they need to consider is, where's my panel at? How am I going to get the wire to the charger? Where do I want to put this charger at? What makes most sense for my family, right? Do you want that car always in the garage, or is it something that you would rather hey, I've got two EVs and I want to rotate them in and out of the charger. Do I put it outside to make it a little bit easier to rotate those cars around? But that's kind of some of the process that our company does help with, is kind of planning that out. But I will say, I think it's been very interesting to see a lot of these new home builders now and a lot of these developments are going ahead and prepping for this, right? They're putting in that extra dryer plug that's in the garage that's ready for an EV charger, or they're at least leaving room in the panel to have a charger hardwired. So I think we are starting to see some more interest in that with new homes. But as you're looking to buy something that's already been built, I think those are the things to consider.
I'm good on questions.
Sure.
Do you have any more, David?
Yeah, I was going to say, so not to put you guys on the spot. So what are the electric vehicles that you guys like to drive on a day-to-day basis?
Sure. So the favorite one that I have driven in general so far is probably either the new Chevy Trailblazer or the BMW i4 M50. That was a really fun experience.
Nice.
So luckily, I've had the pleasure to drive quite a few of them, including some of those new semi trucks. We got to
Oh, wow.
do that, which was pretty neat. So I think from my perspective, I think on performance basis, right, that the Porsche Taycan is probably my favorite. It is super quick, really fun to drive, great response times. But I would say if I was going to pick one that and driving every day, it's either going to be the Rivian SUV. I think it's got great potential to be a really good family car. But the F-150 Lightning makes the most sense for me, right? I'm going from job site to job site. It's got good performance. I've got my gripes with the cars themselves already, right? So when I hook up to a trailer, my range significantly decreases. So I think that's something that they'll overcome in the future. But the Lightning makes the most sense just because I'm hauling material, and that's what I'm driving. So
Nice. And one other question, because Alex, you brought this up when you presented to the ERMO chamber, that your chargers are also unique in the fact that it allows you to pull charge from the car in certain situations. Is that true?
Yeah, so we have developed a unit that's called a bidirectional charger, which is not very common in the US yet. It hasn't really been popularized in the market for OEMs that are manufacturing the cars. Actually, Cadillac and Ford are the only two American brands that are working on that bidirectional charging with the F-150 Lightning, the IQ from Escalade, and the Celeste, I believe is what it's called, from Cadillac as well. And basically what it allows you to do is to disperse energy from the car through the unit and into your house to power your home in the event of a power outage. But also to use that energy to either store, it can be paired with a battery pack. So you can take that energy and store it into that battery pack for, cost savings on your power bill, or in the event that you do have an emergency. We are, a hurricane state. There's possibility that, power outages can last for days at a time. That's a good use for it as well, while also being able to charge your vehicle on a day in and day out basis.
So
Yeah.
David, we strive to be ahead of the OEMs, right?
Yeah.
That's our job. We want to make sure that whatever's coming down the pipeline, we're already ready for, and people can get access to that equipment very quickly. And so this bidirectional has been very popular in the Japanese market, the Asian market. And so we've made some tweaks to it to try to make it very useful for homes here in the US. And like Alex said, our only limitation with that unit right now is just the OEMs, the cars themselves, right? And as soon as the cars catch up with us, we're ready to go. And we see that on a pretty regular basis, that we're a little bit ahead of the OEMs all the way, which is good. But it gives us the opportunity to kind of tease folks like yourself with the new emerging technology that we know that you're going to see within the next 2 to 3 years. And that bidirectional charging is one of them.
Well, and I'll just say, it's impressive that you're thinking like this, but it's, I think what's most impressive is it just, you guys are young, you're being entrepreneurial, you're right here in our backyard in Columbia, South Carolina, over in the Lexington area doing this. And, it's not just a small little family business. You guys have gone out and partnered with some big name automotive manufacturers as well, doing this research. If you want to talk a little bit about that real quick.
Yeah, so we've been really, really fortunate in this industry. We've had a couple of people that we've gotten in touch with that have liked us and introduced us to more folks. And that's given us access to OEMs like Ford and GM and Chevrolet. And I was talking about some of those semi trucks, Volvo, Proterra Bus Company, that's allowed us not only to get our units in front of them and let them test them so that we can see how good what we've come up with is or how bad it is and fix it. But also giving us the opportunity to get a sneak peek at what those new technologies are going to be, or even get to talk to some of those folks about what we think they should be, which has been a blessing that we have really enjoyed. But if you're talking about naming a few of those large manufacturers, Volvo, GM, Chevrolet, Cadillac, Ford, we talk to those guys on a pretty regular basis about what's going on and how we can improve and how they can improve.
It's truly amazing what you guys are doing. It was especially here in the Columbia area where we're about to have our own EV electric, manufacturing facility for the new Scout that's coming out in the next couple of years. In early March, George and I are headed down to Volvo to go take a tour of their plant down there to see what they're doing and hopefully get a sense of what they're getting ready to do to manufacture their brand new all electric. I think it's their EV90, their big SUV down there. Yeah. So, what an exciting time to be in a brand new and emerging industry. And you guys are doing a fabulous job of just starting a business, growing it. So congratulations. We're very impressed. George, you have anything else you want to ask them?
No, I'm good. Just thank you all for joining. Definitely. It was very, very good information.
Well, guys, we really appreciate y'all having us.
Very love having you guys with us. Austin, Alex, best of luck to you. And, if we can ever do anything for you, please reach out.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys.
Appreciate it. And likewise, anything we can do for you guys, we'll be happy to.
Happy time.
Episode of The Cool Guys is sponsored by Bell Carrington, Price and Gregg. Bell Carrington is our choice for the best real estate attorneys in town. They are highly communicative and make sure that the closing process is as smooth as possible. With offices in North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama, they can handle any of your real estate, finance, eminent domain, financial services litigation, and litigation needs. Call their Columbia SC office today at 803-509-5078.